Jake Morrison stood at the window of his office on the 32nd floor of the Colony Administration Building. He watched the morning sun rise over New Haven's green fields. The crops looked perfect. 2.5 million people called this planet home now. It had taken 15 years to build this place from nothing into something beautiful. His desk computer made a soft sound. A message from Maria Santos appeared on the screen. She ran the farming division. Her face looked happy. When the video started, "Good morning, Jake. The harvest reports are in. We grew 20% more food this season than last year. The new soil treatment is working better than we hoped. We have enough food to feed everyone and still have plenty left over to send to Earth." Jake smiled. Maria had worked hard to make the farm successful. She came to New Haven 8 years ago with new ideas about growing food. Her methods worked well on this planet. Another message came in. This one was from Dr. Paul Carter at the research station. Paul looked excited about something. "Jake, you need to see what we found today. The team discovered a new type of plant near the Eastern Mountains. It makes a chemical that can heal cuts and wounds very fast. This could help people all over the galaxy. I am sending you the full report now." Jake felt proud of his people. They worked hard every day to make life better. New Haven was becoming an important place. Other worlds wanted to trade with them. Even some alien races came here to buy things. Door to his office opened. Lisa Webb walked in. She was the head of security for the colony. Lisa always looked serious, but today she seemed worried about something. "Jake, we need to talk. I got some strange reports from our deep space sensors. There are ships moving near the edge of our solar system. Big ships. They are not answering our calls." Jake turned from the window. "How many ships?" "At least 30. Maybe more. They are too far away to see clearly. But they are definitely military ships. The computer says they are not human designs." "Are they the Centauri traders? They said they might come back this month." Lisa shook her head. "No, these ships are much bigger than trading vessels, and they are moving in attack formation." Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. New Haven only had 6 defense ships. They were small patrol boats meant to stop pirates, not fight a real battle. Captain Steve Adams commanded the defense fleet. He was a good officer, but his ships were not built for war. Call Captain Adams. Tell him to move his ships to defensive positions. Then send a message to Earth. Tell them we might have trouble." Lisa nodded and left quickly. Jake looked out the window again. The peaceful farms and cities looked the same, but everything felt different now. Something bad was coming. An hour later, the alarm bells started ringing across the colony. Jake ran to the command center in the basement of his building. Lisa was already there with her security team. The big screen on the wall showed space around New Haven. Red dots marked the alien ships. There were more than 30 now. There were over 50. "They came out of hyperspace 20 minutes ago," Lisa said. "Captain Adams moved his ships to protect the planet." "But Jake, look at the size of those things. They are huge." The alien ships looked like giant metal whales. They were dark gray and covered with weapon ports. Each one was 10 times bigger than the human patrol boats. Jake counted 53 enemy ships. Amy Rodriguez sat at the communications desk. She was trying to contact the alien fleet. "This is New Haven Colony, calling unknown vessels. Please respond. State your intentions." No answer came. Steve Adams appeared on the communication screen. He was on the bridge of his flagship. Behind him, Jake could see his crew working fast to prepare for battle. "Jake, I have all 6 ships ready, but we cannot win this fight. These are Zephyrian warships. I recognize the design from military files. They are here to destroy us. Can you hold them off long enough for people to escape?" Steve looked sad. There is nowhere to run, Jake. They have us surrounded. I will do what I can, but the screen filled with bright light. When it cleared, one of the human ships was gone. The alien fleet had opened fire. All ships, attack, Steve shouted. The 5 remaining human ships flew toward the enemy. They fired their weapons, but the shots barely scratched the alien ships. The Zephyrians fired back. Another human ship exploded. Jake watched his people die. There was nothing he could do to help them. The defense fleet fought bravely, but they had no chance. In 10 minutes, all 6 human ships were destroyed. Captain Adams and his crews were dead. The alien ships moved closer to the planet. Jake knew what would come next. Amy, send an emergency message to Earth. Tell them what happened here. Use the quantum transmitter. Amy's hands shook as she typed the message. Message sent, sir. The first bombs hit New Haven City. The building shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Outside, Jake could see fires starting across the city. The aliens were not just attacking military targets. They were bombing everything. Everyone to the emergency bunker, Jake ordered. His staff ran toward the deep underground shelter. It was built to protect against natural disasters, but Jake hoped it might save them from the alien attack too. More bombs fell. The explosions got closer and louder. Jake was the last person to enter the bunker. He sealed the heavy door behind him. 20 people were trapped inside with him. They had food and air for 1 week. Amy set up the emergency radio. She could still send messages to Earth, but she did not know if anyone would hear them. This is New Haven Colony. We are under attack by Zephyrian forces. They are bombing our cities. Our defense fleet is destroyed. Please ... remember us. The bombs kept falling for hours. The bunker shook with each explosion. Through the thick walls, they could hear the sound of their world dying. The aliens showed no mercy. They destroyed farms, cities, schools, hospitals. Everything humans had built on New Haven was being erased. Jake held Amy's hand as she sent the final message. The explosions were getting very close now. The bunker would not protect them much longer. Tell Earth that we did not surrender. Tell them that New Haven fought to the end. Tell them to remember the children who died here today. Amy sent the message just as the biggest explosion yet shook the bunker. The lights went out. The walls cracked. Fire came through the ceiling. New Haven was silent. 2.5 million. Human voices would never speak again. The Zephyrians had made their point. They thought this would make Earth afraid. They thought humans would beg for peace. They were wrong about humans. They had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Fleet Admiral John Hayes sat in his office deep inside the Pentagon when the message arrived. He had been reviewing reports about new ship construction when his aide rushed in. The young officer looked pale and scared. Sir, you need to read this. Right now. It came from New Haven Colony. John took the tablet and read Amy Rodriguez's final transmission. His hands started shaking. 2.5 million people. Gone. Murdered without warning. He read the message 3 times to make sure he understood it correctly. Get me President Mills on the secure line. Now. The aide ran out of the room. John stood up and walked to the window. He could see the Potomac River below. Everything looked normal and peaceful. But somewhere far away, one of humanity's colonies had been wiped out by aliens who thought they could scare Earth into submission. The phone rang. President Catherine Mills' voice came through the speaker. John, I just got the report. Is it true? All of them? Yes, Madam President. New Haven is gone. The Zephyrian Collective destroyed everything. No survivors. There was silence on the line for a long moment. Then Catherine spoke again, and her voice was hard as steel. Call an emergency meeting of the Colonial Defense Council. I want everyone there in 2 hours, And John? Start thinking about our response options. John hung up the phone and called his staff. Within minutes, the Pentagon was buzzing with activity. Officers ran through the halls carrying classified files. Computer screens showed star maps and fleet positions. Everyone knew something big was happening. 2 hours later, John walked into the secure conference room in the White House basement. President Mills sat at the head of a long table. Around her were the most powerful people in human space. Defense Secretary Robert Kane, Intelligence Director Carol White, and Dr. Richard Stone, Earth's top expert on alien politics. Gentlemen, ladies, President Mills began, we are here because the Zephyrian Collective has committed an act of genocide against human civilians. They have murdered 2.5 million innocent people to send us a message. The question now is what message we send back. Dr. Stone spoke first. He was a thin man with gray hair who had studied alien cultures for 30 years. Madam President, the Zephyrians think they understand human psychology. They believe this attack will make us negotiate. They expect us to offer them territory or resources in exchange for peace. This is how their own species would react. What do you recommend, Doctor? They have made a critical error in judgment. They do not understand that humans react differently to threats against civilians. Where they expect fear, they will find fury. Intelligence Director White opened a thick folder. We have complete intelligence on the Zephyrian Collective. 47 star systems, 8 billion total population. Their military has about 2,000 ships of various sizes. Admiral Hayes stood up and activated the holographic display. A three-dimensional map of local space appeared above the table. Red dots marked Zephyrian worlds. Blue dots showed human colonies. Madam President, Earth currently has the largest fleet in known space. 700,000 active warships. This includes everything from patrol boats to planet-killer dreadnoughts. We have been building ships for 50 years to protect our expanding colonies. President Mills looked at the display. 700,000 ships. That seems like a lot to fight 2,000. It is, Madam President. We could deploy 1% of our fleet and still outnumber them. But I recommend we use overwhelming force. All of it. Defense Secretary Kane leaned forward. John, are you suggesting we deploy our entire fleet for one military operation? I am suggesting we end the Zephyrian Collective as a threat to human life. Permanently. The room was quiet. Everyone understood what John was proposing. Not just victory, but total destruction of an entire alien civilization. President Mills spoke carefully. Admiral, walk me through what this would look like. John touched the display controls. The map zoomed in on Zephyrian space. We mobilize everything, every ship, every crew. 700,000 vessels organized into battle groups. We hit every Zephyrian world simultaneously. Their military, their government, their industrial capacity. All of it gone in a coordinated strike. Casualties? On our side, minimal. We will outnumber them so heavily that resistance will be impossible. On their side, complete military destruction. We can leave civilian populations alive if you prefer, but their ability to threaten humans again will be eliminated forever. Dr. Stone nodded slowly. This would send a very clear message to every alien species in the galaxy. Attack human civilians and face total annihilation. President Mills looked around the table. I want to hear from everyone. Carol? Intelligence Director White spoke without hesitation. The Zephyrians chose to murder civilians to make a political point. They opened this door. I say we walk through it. Robert? Defense Secretary Kane was quiet for a moment. Madam President, if we do not respond with overwhelming force, other alien species will see us as weak. They will think they can attack our colonies and we will negotiate. We need to show them that attacking humans has consequences they cannot survive. Dr. Stone? The alien expert looked at the star map. The Zephyrians study human history. They know about our wars and our weapons, but they do not understand our psychology. They think the threat of death makes humans submit. They are about to learn that the murder of innocents makes humans absolutely ruthless. President Mills turned to Admiral Hayes. John, if we do this, how long would it take? Full mobilization will require 6 weeks. The campaign itself could be over in a month. The Zephyrians have never seen anything like what we can deploy. And you believe this is necessary? John looked directly at the President. Madam President, they killed children. They burned hospitals and schools. They recorded it and broadcast it to intimidate us. If we do not respond with absolute force, every alien species will think they can do the same thing. President Mills was quiet for a long time. She looked at each person around the table. These people had advised presidents for decades. They understood war and politics and the cost of both. Finally, she spoke. Admiral Hayes, you have authorization to mobilize the entire fleet. I want every ship we have ready for combat operations. The Zephyrian Collective will learn what happens when someone murders human civilians. She stood up, and everyone else stood with her. Gentlemen, ladies, we are about to show the galaxy something it has never seen before. 700,000 human warships, united in purpose. The Zephyrians wanted to teach us fear. Instead, they will learn why humanity rules the stars. John felt a cold satisfaction. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought murdering innocents would make humans negotiate. Instead, they had just signed their own death warrant. The largest military operation in galactic history was about to begin. Captain Roy Chun stood on the bridge of the EFS Retribution and looked out at the most amazing sight in galactic history. 700,000 human warships stretched across space as far as his eyes could see. The fleet was so large that it took 3 hours just to count all the ships using computers. Roy had been chosen to lead this mission because he was the best tactical commander in the human fleet. He had fought pirates and raiders for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. No one had ever seen anything like this. Captain, all battle groups report ready, said his communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Parker. Roy nodded. The fleet was organized into 1,000 battle groups. Each group had 700 ships. Some groups had massive dreadnoughts that could destroy entire cities with one shot. Other groups had fast attack ships that could move quickly between star systems. There were carrier ships full of fighter planes and support ships carrying supplies and ammunition. Send the final message to all ships, Roy ordered. Ben activated the fleet-wide communication system. Roy's voice reached every one of the 700,000 ships at the same time. This is Captain Shun to all vessels. 6 weeks ago, the Zephyrian Collective murdered 2.5 million innocent humans on New Haven. They killed children. They burned hospitals. They destroyed everything our people had built over 15 years. Roy paused. He could feel the anger of 700,000 crews listening to his words. The aliens think this attack will make us afraid. They expect use to beg for peace. They are wrong. Today, we show them what happens when someone murders human families. Today, we teach every alien species in the galaxy that attacking human civilians means total destruction. He looked out at the endless rows of warships. We are not going to New Haven to arrest criminals. We are not going there to make deals. We are going there to end the Zephyrian Collective forever. No mercy, no quarter, no survivors who can threaten humans again. The fleet began to move. 700,000 ships activated their engines at the same time. The light from so many Drives lit up space like a new sun. On the planet Zephyr Prime, Warcast Commander Vextar received reports from his scouts. At first, he did not believe what they told him. 100 human ships approaching? That seemed possible. 1,000 ships? That would be a large force, but still manageable. When his sensors finally detected the true size of the human fleet, Vextar thought his equipment was broken. 700,000 ships? That was impossible. No species had ever built so many warships. He called his military advisors to an emergency meeting. General Krelthin, his top strategist, looked at the sensor data and turned the pale. "Commander, this cannot be accurate. The humans cannot have this many ships." "The sensors do not lie, General. Somehow, the humans have assembled the largest military force in galactic history." Admiral Vexron, head of the Zephyrian fleet, studied the tactical display. "Commander, our largest battle group has 400 ships. Our entire military has 2,000 vessels. How do we fight an enemy with 700,000? Vextar stared at the screen. He had planned the attack on New Haven to show human weakness. He expected Earth to negotiate after losing one colony. Instead, he had awakened something terrible. "Send messages to all our worlds. Tell them to prepare their defenses. And send a message to the human fleet. Tell them we want to negotiate." But the humans were not interested in talking. Commander Elena Foster sat in the intelligence center aboard the Ephes Retribution. She had spent months studying every Zephyrian world and military base. She knew where they kept their ships, where their leaders lived, and how their society worked. "Captain Shun, I have the target list ready," Elena reported. 47 star systems, 238 military installations, 85 industrial centers. The Zephyrians have their main fleet divided between 12 systems. Roy looked at the list. How long to destroy all of it? If we hit everything at once? 3 days, maybe less. Captain Helen Davis commanded Battle Group 7, which included 20 carrier ships. Each carrier held 500 fighter planes. Her group alone had more firepower than most alien civilizations. "Roy, my pilots are ready. They want to avenge New Haven." Captain Mike Turner led Battle Group 12, which specialized in destroying planetary defenses. His ships carried weapons designed to break through any shield or armor. "Captain Shun, we can crack their orbital fortresses in hours. The Zephyrians have never fought anything like us." Roy felt satisfied. The aliens had made one crucial mistake. They thought all species fought wars the same way they did. Small battles, limited objectives. Political negotiations. Humans fought differently. When someone murdered human civilians, humans did not negotiate. They destroyed the threat completely. Journey to Zephyrian space took 2 weeks. During that time, the human fleet broadcast messages to every alien species in the galaxy. The messages were simple and clear. The Zephyrian Collective has committed genocide against human civilians. Earth's response will be total and final. Any species that attacks human colonies will face the same fate. This is your only warning. Dr. Lisa Thompson studied the alien responses from her position aboard the command ship. She was an expert in alien psychology, and what she saw in the intercepted communications fascinated her. "Captain, the other alien species are terrified. The Altarians are sending messages to Earth, asking for peace treaties. The Vegan Empire is recalling all their ships from near-human space. They have never seen a fleet this large. What about the Zephyrians? Their communications show panic. Their military commanders are arguing about surrender. Some want to fight, others want to evacuate their worlds. Their society is coming apart." Roy smiled coldly. Good. Fear was exactly what he wanted them to feel. When the human fleet finally reached the edge of Zephyrian space, they found the alien border defenses abandoned. The Zephyrian commanders had taken one look at 700,000 approaching warships and decided not to fight. Roy ordered the fleet to split into attack groups. Each Zephyrian system would face overwhelming force. There would be no escape. No reinforcements. No hope. Captain Dan Walsh commanded the Information Warfare Division. His job was to make sure every Zephyrian knew exactly why they were about to die. All systems broadcasting, Captain. Every Zephyrian world is receiving our message. The message played footage from New Haven's destruction. It showed the burned cities, the destroyed hospitals, the murdered children. Then it showed the 700,000 human ships approaching. The Zephyrian collective chose to murder innocent humans. This is the consequence of that choice. Surrender your military forces now, or face complete destruction. Most Zephyrian worlds immediately surrendered. But some, led by fanatics like Vexstar, chose to fight. They would regret that decision. The first Zephyrian system died in 6 hours. Captain Roy Chun watched from the bridge of the EFS Retribution as Battle Group Alpha emerged from hyperspace around the planet Kethra. The Zephyrians had 50 defensive ships waiting. The humans brought 700. All ships, begin attack, Roy ordered. The space battle was not really a battle. It was an execution. The Zephyrian ships fired desperately at the human fleet, but their weapons barely scratched the human armor. The human ships returned fire with weapons that could melt steel mountains. In 20 minutes, every Zephyrian ship was destroyed. The human fleet moved toward the planet. Captain Alex Rivera commanded the assault on Kethra's orbital stations. His ships surrounded the massive space platforms that protected the planet. The stations had thick armor and powerful shields, but they were built to fight normal fleets. Fire at will, Alex ordered. Beams of pure energy struck the orbital stations. The alien shields collapsed in seconds. The stations exploded one by one, lighting up space with brilliant flashes. In 1 hour, every defensive position around Kethra was gone. Admiral Susan Clark led the attack on the planet's military bases. Her ships dropped from orbit like metal rain. They landed near Zephyrian army camps and weapons factories. The alien soldiers tried to fight, but human technology was 50 years ahead of anything they had. Target destroyed, Susan reported. Moving to next objective. By the end of the day, Kethra had no military left. No ships, no bases, no weapons. The planet was defenseless. Roy watched the tactical display with satisfaction. 1 system down. 46 to go. On Zephyr Prime, Warcast Commander Vexstar received the reports with growing horror. Kethra's entire defense force had been wiped out in 6 hours. The humans had not lost a single ship. How is this possible? He asked his advisors. General Krelfin looked at the battle reports. Commander, the humans have weapons we have never seen before. Their ships are faster and stronger than ours, and they have so many of them. Admiral Vexran studied the tactical data. Sir, they are not fighting like any species we know. Most civilizations try to capture territory with minimum damage. The humans are systematically destroying everything military on each world. Vexstar felt fear growing in his chest. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we want to discuss peace terms. But the human response was always the same. Surrender your military forces completely, or face total destruction. The second day brought attacks on 5 more systems. Captain Jenny Moore led the assault on Nexus 7, an important industrial world that built Zephyrian warships. The aliens tried a new strategy. They placed their military bases inside cities, hoping the humans would not attack civilian areas. They were wrong about human precision. Jenny's ships used surgical strikes that destroyed only military targets. Factories that built weapons were turned to ash. Army bases became smoking craters. But the civilian neighborhoods remained untouched. This is Captain Moore to Nexus 7 Defense Command. Your military infrastructure is destroyed. Surrender now, and we will not harm your civilian population. The Zephyrian commander surrendered immediately. Dr. Lisa Thompson studied the alien communications from her post on the command ship. What she found amazed her. Captain Chun, Zephyrian morale is collapsing across their entire civilization. Their military is deserting. Their government officials are fleeing to other star systems. Some worlds are surrendering before we even arrive. Roy read her reports with interest. What about their leadership? Mixed reactions. Some want to fight to the death. Others are begging for mercy. But all of them are terrified. They never imagined humans could feel the force this large. Captain Dan Walsh's psychological warfare teams were having great success. Before each attack, they broadcast footage of New Haven's destruction to the target world. Then they showed the approaching human fleet. This is what you did to innocent humans, the broadcast said. This is what happens to those who murder human families. Many Zephyrian worlds surrendered immediately after seeing these messages. By the end of the first week, 12 Zephyrian systems had fallen. The pattern was always the same. Overwhelming human force, brief resistance, total military destruction. The aliens had no answer for humanity's numbers and technology. On the Ology, 8th day, the humans reached the Zephyrian military stronghold of Githara Prime. This world had the strongest defenses in alien space. 200 warships protected orbital fortresses that could destroy entire fleets. Admiral Susan Clark looked at the defenses and smiled. Captain Chun, request permission to show them what real firepower looks like. Permission granted, Admiral. Susan's battle group included the super dreadnoughts EFS Vengeance and EFS Reckoning. These ships were as long as cities and carried weapons that could crack planets. They had been built to fight alien invasions that never came. Until now. All ships, maximum firepower, Susan ordered. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of energy beams struck the Zephyrian fortresses at the same time. The alien shields, designed to stop normal weapons, simply vanished. The fortresses exploded like firecrackers. The 200 defending ships lasted 15 minutes. Admiral Vexron watched his strongest fleet die from his command ship. He had spent his entire career building the Zephyrian military. Now he watched humans destroy 50 years of work in one afternoon. He opened a communication channel to the human fleet. Human Commander, this is Admiral Vexron. I request terms for surrender. Captain Roy Chan's face appeared on the screen. His expression was cold as space. Admiral, you participated in the murder of 2.5 million innocent humans. Your terms are simple. Complete surrender of all military forces. No negotiations. Vexron felt his pride break. I accept your terms. Another system fell to humanity. Back on Zephyr Prime, Vexstar watched his empire crumble. Half his military was destroyed. The other half was surrendering or running away. Other alien species were cutting diplomatic ties with the Zephyrian collective. His advisors brought him reports of human broadcasts being sent to every species in the galaxy. The messages showed the power of Earth's fleet and warned what would happen to anyone who attacked human civilians. Commander, General Krelthin said quietly, perhaps we should consider evacuation. Vexstar slammed his fist on the table. No, I will not run from these humans. If they want Zephyr Prime, they will have to take it by force. Krelthin looked at his commander with pity. Vexstar still did not understand what he had awakened. The humans were not coming to conquer. They were coming to destroy. Captain Betty Reynolds commanded Battle Group 15, which specialized in space combat. Her ships had been hunting down the remaining Zephyrian fleet. Most alien commanders surrendered when they saw her forces approaching. Captain Chun, this is Reynolds. We found the last major Zephyrian battle group hiding near the outer rim. 40 ships. They refused to surrender. Destroy them, Roy replied without hesitation. The battle lasted 8 minutes. 40 Zephyrian ships against 700 human vessels. The outcome was never in doubt. By the end of the second week, the Zephyrian collective had lost 80% of its military. Only Zephyr Prime itself remained defended. Vexstar had gathered the last of his forces around the homeworld. For a final stand, Roy looked at the tactical display showing Zephyr Prime. The planet was surrounded by defensive stations and protected by 300 warships. It was the strongest position the aliens had left. He was bringing 700,000 ships to destroy it. The final battle was about to begin. The final battle began at dawn on Zephyr Prime. Captain Roy Chun stood on the bridge of the EFS Retribution as 700,000 human warships emerged from hyperspace around the Zephyrian homeworld. The sight was so overwhelming that several alien commanders immediately surrendered their ships without firing a shot. Warcast. Commander Vexstar watched from his command bunker deep underground. Through his sensors, he could see the human fleet stretching across space like a metal ocean. He had gathered every remaining ship in the Zephyrian military for this last battle. 300 vessels against 700,000. All units, prepare for combat, Vexstar ordered. His voice shook despite his attempts to sound brave. The orbital defenses around Zephyr Prime were the strongest in alien space. Massive stations, armed with planet-killer weapons. Shield generators that could protect entire continents. Weapon platforms that had taken 50 years to build. Captain Nancy Williams led the attack on the orbital defenses. Her battle group specialized in breaking through enemy fortifications. She had studied the Zephyrian defenses for weeks and knew exactly where to strike. All ships, target the shield generators first, Nancy ordered. Thousands of human ships fired at the same time. The energy beams hit the shield generators with such force that they exploded instantly. The protective barriers around Zephyr Prime collapsed in minutes. Admiral Susan Clark commanded the assault on the orbital stations. These massive structures had enough firepower to destroy small fleets, but they were built to fight normal enemies. Fire everything, Susan commanded. Super dreadnoughts EFS Vengeance and EFS Reckoning unleashed their full power. Beams of pure energy, each one powerful enough to melt mountains, struck the orbital stations. The alien fortresses, built over decades, were destroyed in seconds. Captain Tim Baker led the ground assault forces. His ships dropped through the atmosphere toward the planet's surface. Zephyrian ground forces fired anti-ship missiles, but human shields deflected them easily. Landing zone secured, Tim reported. Moving toward military targets, the space battle above the planet was already over. The 300 Zephyrian ships had fought bravely, but courage meant nothing against overwhelming numbers. In 30 minutes, every alien vessel was destroyed or surrendering. Vexstar watched his last fleet die on the tactical display. His advisors stood around him in silence. General Krelthin looked like he wanted to speak, but there was nothing left to say. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "the humans are demanding your personal surrender." Vexstar felt rage burning in his chest. This was supposed to be a simple lesson. Destroy one human colony, force Earth to negotiate. Instead, his entire civilization was being crushed. Tell them I refuse. If they want me, they can come and take me. Captain Roy Chun received the message and smiled coldly. He had expected this. Aliens like Vexstar never learned until the very end. Captain Williams, take your Marines and capture their command center. Bring me Vexstar alive. Nancy's assault. Troops moved through the underground tunnels toward the Zephyrian command bunker. The alien guards tried to stop them, but human combat armor made the soldiers nearly invincible. Energy weapons bounced off their shields like raindrops. In 20 minutes, Nancy's Marines reached the command center. They blasted through the armored doors and found Vexstar waiting with his remaining staff. The Zephyrian commander looked at the human soldiers in their powered armor. For the first time, he truly understood what his species had awakened. Humans did not fight like other aliens. They did not negotiate or show mercy to those who murdered civilians. "Take me to your leader," Vexstar said quietly. Nancy brought him. To the F's retribution. Roy waited in the ship's conference room. When Vexstar was brought in, the two commanders faced each other across a metal table. Vexstar looked older than his years. The destruction of his military had broken something inside him. "I want to negotiate terms for my people's survival." Roy stared at the alien without expression. "You murdered 2.5 million innocent humans. Children, families, people who had never hurt anyone. It was a military operation. We were trying to stop human expansion. By burning hospitals and schools?" Vexstar had no answer for that. Roy leaned forward. "Your terms are simple. The Zephyrian Collective will be dissolved. Your remaining military will be destroyed. Your species will never again possess weapons capable of threatening human colonies. And if I refuse?" Roy activated a holographic display showing the human fleet surrounding Zephyr Prime. 700,000 ships filled the space around the planet. "Then your homeworld joins New Haven as a field of glass and ash." Vexstar looked at the display and felt his last hope die. He had started this war believing humans were weak. Now he faced the largest military force in galactic history, commanded by people who showed no mercy to those who harmed civilians. "I accept your terms." The surrender ceremony took place in orbit above Zephyr Prime. Representatives from dozens of alien species came to witness the end of the Zephyrian Collective. They watched human Marines accept the surrender of the last alien military units. Captain Betty Reynolds, now promoted to Admiral for her role in the campaign, oversaw the establishment of human military bases throughout former Zephyrian space. The message to the galaxy was clear. This territory now belonged to humanity. Dr. Lisa Thompson studied the reactions of other alien species to humanity's victory. What she found was exactly what Earth's leaders had hoped for. Captain Shun, every major alien civilization has sent diplomatic messages to Earth. They all want peace treaties and trade agreements. None of them want to face what happened to the Zephyrians. Roy felt satisfied. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans protected their own with overwhelming force. 6 months later, President Catherine Mills stood before a crowd of 50,000 people on the rebuilt world of New Haven. The planet had been restored as a memorial to those who died. New cities rose where the old ones had burned. New farms grew where alien bombs had left craters. "We gather today to remember 2.5 million innocent souls," President Mills said. "They died because aliens thought they could terrorize humans into submission. They were wrong." She looked up at the sky, where human warships patrolled to ensure this would never happen again. "The galaxy has learned that humanity does not negotiate with those who murder our families. We do not show mercy to those who harm our children. We respond to genocide with overwhelming force." Behind her stood a simple monument made of black stone. Carved into it were the names of everyone who died on New Haven. At the bottom, golden letters spelled out a message that every alien species now knew by heart. 2.3 million souls lost. 700,000 ships answered. Never again. Roy Chun stood in the crowd, no longer a ship captain, but now Grand Admiral of Earth's Colonial Defense Fleet. He watched families place flowers at the memorial. These people could live in peace because the galaxy now understood the cost of threatening human civilians. Vexstar had wanted to teach humans fear. Instead, he had taught the galaxy to fear humanity's wrath. In the years that followed, human space expanded peacefully. Alien species competed to offer Earth favorable trade deals and military cooperation. None of them wanted to face the iron. tide of 700,000 ships united in righteous fury. The Zephyrian collective was gone, erased from history as a warning to others. Their former worlds were empty, monitored by human bases that ensured no one would ever again threaten innocent human lives. Peace reigned in human space, enforced by the demonstrated ability and willingness to unleash total destruction against any who would harm civilians. The galaxy had learned. Humanity was not to be tested,